Hello, my name is Faizan Ali and you're watching UzReport World. Today we are joined by a very inspiring guest, Kim Kaupe, co-founder and CEO of Superfan company. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to meet you as well.
To start off, I have to ask, named Forbes 30 under 30, advertising aged 40 under 40, Inc. 35 under 35, while the company was hailed as the top 30 startups to watch by entrepreneur. And it was also dubbed as an overnight success by Inc. And the list goes on. But then you were also featured on Shark Tank of ABC's primetime show. And then a judge for 2019 Miss USA pageant. How did this all happen and what's your story?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it honestly was just kind of continuing to do good work. And I think what happens with a lot of the press and a lot of the recognition that you see is it's sort of like a domino effect. Once one starts, the rest are very easy. The first one is very, very hard, but then everything after that becomes a little bit easier as you keep going. But I would say in terms of starting the company and growing it to where it is today, that it really was sort of a happy accident. I never dreamed of being an entrepreneur. It's not something that I grew up wanting to do. I wanted to work at a company. I wanted a corporate job, which is what I had. So I graduated from university and went into the workforce, and I got a job at a corporate job. And I had that corporate job for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years, before starting this company on my own with my co-founder. And so I would say, I tell that story because I think a lot of people think that if they didn't have the idea when they were young, or they didn't start the idea right out of college, or it didn't happen for them right away, that it's impossible. And I think out of this pandemic, we're going to see a lot of opportunities. We're going to see a lot of people who are suddenly interested in entrepreneurship or interested in working for themselves or having 2 or 3 side hustles or different things that they're passionate about. And so I think entrepreneurship is something that's going to become increasingly important. And I think even within corporations or within corporate landscapes, there's going to have to be a lot of new ideas, new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking, new products. And that's all having an entrepreneurial mindset. And so for me, my biggest passion is how to continue to get people to think in an entrepreneurial way and continue to have them invest in themselves and their careers.
It's amazing and very interesting when you said that you started from a corporate job and then decided to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people actually have a very different story. They start their career as an entrepreneur and then end up joining a corporate job.
I think for me, I worked at a corporate job. So I, had a 9-to-5 job, salary, all of that good stuff for about 3 years, and met my co-founder and had this idea. And I thought to myself, I really want to try this. And then the first thing that I looked at, and something that everyone should look at, is what is my worst case scenario for trying? And at the time, I did not have a husband. I did not have kids. I had a scholarship for university, so I didn't have any loans or debt. I didn't own a car. I didn't own a house. I didn't own anything. And so my ability to try was very high because I didn't have anything to lose. It wasn't like I can't feed my kids if this doesn't work, or I can't pay my car payment if this doesn't work. I didn't have much at that point. And so I think looking at that, it was like, okay, let me give this a try. If this doesn't work, which there's a big percentage that it might not work. I think like 93% of startups fail. So there's a 93% chance that this is not going to work. And if it doesn't work, I will go get another corporate job. I will go back into the corporate workforce and I will find a company and I will find a job. And so once I was sort of okay with knowing that in 3 or 4 or 5 months, this could just fail miserably, just splat, that's okay. I can go get another job and that's fine. And so I think that is really the mindset that I took when starting this crazy entrepreneurial journey.
Do you think being in USA, chasing the American dream and staying in a more developed country maybe have given you a better platform?
Personally, I don't think so, because I think that, again, I never wanted to own my own company. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think the story that we get told a lot about the sort of all-American dream or owning your own business is, that little boy or little girl, they were always hustling. And when they were kids, they were selling candy. When they were 7 years old, they were selling candy to other kids. Or when they were 8 years old, they were babysitting for money, or they were, starting these little businesses. And so when that 6, 7, 8 year old grows up to meet an adult, and then starts their own business, everyone says, oh, well, they always had it. They were always like that from a young age. And I was never like that from a young age. I bought the candy from the kids who were like that. I wasn't the seller of the candy. I was the buyer of the candy. And so I say that because I think a lot of people have that sort of notion that you're born with it. You're born with the entrepreneurial gene. You're born with the little voice inside you that says you're going to work for yourself. And that just wasn't the case for me. And, I think I would have been perfectly happy continuing to work at corporate. I think this was just something that I thought, let me give this a go. Why not? And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And, lucky for me, it did work. But I think I would have been okay if it didn't work too.
I'm actually very interested to know more about your experience in Shark Tank, because it is probably not as simple, considering that you are not just in front of an investor, but in front of a camera. Eyes of the nation, or maybe the whole world, is looking at you.
It's definitely an interesting experience. And, I think parts of the show are very real. Parts of the show are maybe not so real. So, the parts of the show that really is the first time that you're meeting the sharks is when you walk out. You don't get to see them backstage. You don't get to chat afterwards. Like, that is true. However, I was in front of the sharks for over an hour, but that gets edited down to like 7 minutes. So you have 65 minutes that are edited into 7. So it's not like you walk in and 7 minutes later you leave with money. You're in there for a while. So a lot of people don't get to see, obviously, 65 minutes of talking. So that's one thing. And I would say, another thing that's interesting about Shark Tank is I always warn entrepreneurs and warn people that think, oh, I just really want to go on the show, because if anyone has ever had a bad date in their life, and you leave the date and you think, oh, that date was terrible, I embarrassed myself, or that was so embarrassing, or I can't believe I said that on the date, that sounded so stupid. Imagine that date getting repeated over and over. You'd be like, I never want to go on a date like that again. And so the thing about Shark Tank that most people don't realize is I filmed in 2015 is when it aired. And here we are in 2020, so 5 years later, and I would say about every 6 to 8 weeks, our episode re-airs. It re-airs on like these Shark Tank marathon, and it re-airs globally. I have friends in London who will be in the gym and they'll take a picture of the Shark Tank episode. Or I'll have people email me from Brazil saying, I saw your Shark Tank episode. And so if you get a really great edit like we did, it's awesome, because the good stuff just keeps playing. But if you got a bad edit, or you cried, or something terrible happens, that you just sort of never live down. Which is kind of a bummer, because you think 5 years later they're still repeating your really bad first date.
Let me rewind a little bit. Is Superfan your first company ever? So basically this is your starting point. Superfan is Kim, Kim is Superfan to say. But I would like to ask, what is the driving factor for Superfan company? What is keeping it going?
I would say the number one driver for us is creating amazing fan experiences. How can we get fans to feel closer to the artists that they love, the music festivals that they love, the brands that they love? How do we make them feel more connected? How do we give them things to purchase or things that they get as part of an experience that just makes them really excited? We're in the business of delivering happiness.
But how did the idea materialize itself, considering that media has just exploded in the past couple of decades and similar companies are popping up everywhere? So what is something unique about Superfan company?
I tell people all the time that there can be really great companies that just come at really bad times. And the example that I always like to use is Facebook. So before Facebook, there was a company called MySpace. And before MySpace, there was a company called Friendster. And Friendster and MySpace were pretty similar. And again, pretty similar to the early stages of Facebook. You had a profile picture, you had a little bio. On MySpace, you could connect with friends. You had a wall on MySpace so people could write messages to you. Again, very, similar to how Facebook looked in its first iteration. But the timing and what people were ready for, it just didn't click with Friendster and it didn't click with MySpace. And just like if you have a hurricane or a typhoon and it's sort of a perfect storm, it's the right wind temperature, it's the right water temperature, it's the right everything to make a really big storm. Facebook just had the right sort of combination at the right time with the right people, but they tried with MySpace and it was very similar and it failed. So I think it's also about the environment that you have the idea in, and if the world is ready for that and if people are ready for that, because I think that there are some really great ideas that are just sort of maybe before their time or too late and it's hard. And so I think for us, when we started the company, we started it in January 2011. And to sort of put you in a time machine and take you back to the US, at least in January 2011, there was no such thing as Spotify or Join Savin or any of these like streaming services. There was no Facebook a lot of people. Their Twitter was like just becoming something in early 2011 that people were using. No Instagram, no Snapchat, no TikTok, no Pandora, so like you could stream the radio on your computer. So the environment of how we consumed entertainment was very different, very, very different. So I think we built the company right as consuming entertainment and the super fandoms and people getting really excited about Beyonce or Taylor Swift or any of these bands. We sort of caught it at the right time. And so I say that because, again, I think there are a lot of smart people with a lot of really smart ideas that just didn't catch things at the right time.
Some of your clients are big celebrities like Shawn Mendes, Oprah, Paul McCartney, to name a few. How is your experience working with these celebrities?
It's really fun. I mean, it's great to sit down with these amazing people and discuss ideas and hear what they have to say and go back and forth. And I think most people don't realize that not only are the artists or talent very amazing, but usually the people that they surround themselves with are also pretty amazing. They have like amazing humans all around them. So whether it's their managers or their agents or their publicists, like really nice, really wonderful, really amazing people. And I think most people would be surprised by, at least with us and our clients, how passionate everyone is about each and every product. A lot of thought goes into it, a lot of intention, a lot of concern, and people genuinely want to create great things and great experiences for their fans, and they know how important the fans are. And I think now more than ever, people realize that your fans are everything, and I think maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, you only really liked the people that you heard on the radio or the people that you saw on television. But now with these, the choices are endless. So I think artists and our clients know that it means a lot to have those fans, because the fans have a million choices. They could listen to you, or they could listen to 50 other people with 2 taps. So the fact that they're really showing up for you means a lot.
It's very nice to see when people as accomplished as you responding to people who are trying to reach your level. Same as when you started off, I'm sure there were several more accomplished people who you were trying to reach out and learn from. How do you keep a balance in managing your time as well as take out time to contribute to the society?
I'm very passionate about giving back to people. I think I was able to get where I am because of mentors and because of people that were sharing their knowledge. So I absolutely feel the need to do that, for everybody coming up behind me. And I think, quite frankly, especially in entrepreneurship, but also just in life, we feel the need to do everything ourselves, and we feel the need to reinvent the wheel. And humanity is hundreds of millions of years old. You are not the first one with this problem. You are not the first one facing this obstacle. You're not the first one facing this battle. And so you don't have to do it alone. And not only do you not have to do it alone, I jokingly tell people all the time, come copy my homework. I've already done the homework. You don't need to do the homework. I've done it. You can just come over and you can copy mine, and the teacher won't get mad, and it will be totally fine. And so I think that there's something to be said about copying other people's homework and playbooks. And it's a great thing because it helps you navigate and it helps you not make all the same mistakes. And so I'm a big proponent of mentorship. I'm a big proponent of learning. I think, again, these things make it easier than ever, because with a couple taps, I tell people all the time that I have mentors that they have no idea who I am. No idea who I am. I follow Sarah Blakely, who has a company called Spanx. I follow her on Instagram. I follow her on LinkedIn. I follow and all of the knowledge that she puts out, books to read, podcasts that I should listen to, I listen to all of it, or I read all of it, or I go and explore all of it. So I feel like she's a mentor to me, but I've never met her. She has no idea that I exist, and she has no idea how much she's impacted me. So I think now you can have lots of mentors, and there's sort of no excuse not to get the help, because there's so much free help that's out there. And hopefully I'm a free help to a lot of people too.
Of course, before we conclude our conversation, if you could give some advice to the viewers who are trying to find themselves, that would be really nice.
Again, I would say mentorship. I would say surround yourself, not only in person, but again, digitally surround yourself. Follow me. I'm always sharing people or books or podcasts that I think will help. So whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram, follow those individuals, or email lists, or I have a texting platform. You can text me. I think those are really powerful tools that can help. And I would also just say that at the end of the day, you have to live your own life. And there's going to be a lot of people. I always tell people that during my journey, and it continues to happen, there have been a lot of people who have told me no. A lot of people who told me no. A lot of people who told me I was crazy. A lot of people who didn't believe in me. A lot of people who said nasty things about me. And I forget who it was, like which athlete this was, but the athlete said, there's always going to be heckling from the cheap seats. So if you've ever gone to a soccer game or if you've ever watched basketball or baseball, the cheap seats are the ones all the way at the top, and the players that are playing on the field or on the court have worked hours and hours and blood and sweat and tears to be the best, to be the Michael Jordans or the David Beckhams of the world, to be at that level. And so it's really easy to heckle from the cheap seats, and it's not so easy to be a Michael Jordan, and it's not so easy to be a David Beckham. So I would say that you have to live your life don't listen to the hecklers, to just keep working hard at what you want to do.
One last thing, if I may, for personal development of anyone, in your opinion, what are the most important skills anyone should learn?
The most important personal development skill is to learn to invest in yourself. You are your most valuable asset, and a lot of people in entrepreneurship think it's money. If I go raise $100 million from this venture capitalist, then I'll be successful. Or if I go get these, certain advisors, then I'll be successful. If I'm on Shark Tank, then I'll be successful. And what you really need is to invest in yourself. You need to invest in your work, in your own capabilities, your own skills. That is where you need to be spending the most time, because that's actually what's going to carry you through, not necessarily the $100 million that you raised.
Thank you so much, Kim. It was really nice hosting you, and I hope we could host you one day in Uzbekistan.
Thank you so much.
I'm Faizan Ali, and you're watching UzReport World.